thought we would probably be wrapping up by then. Good evening, it's Lori Phelan. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming and taking time out. And all of a sudden, it's a warm, nice day. How did this happen? They said rain all week. And I'll pass it on to the Myers crew. Do you guys want to click on the talk button and say hello?
Alyssa here and Elena Meyer. Both of us are helping teach my children and her siblings, and they're both in 4th grade, moving up to middle school, obviously. So I just want to say hi to everybody.
Hi, my name is Jenny, and I'm a parent of a 4th grader and a 3rd grader.
Hello, Deanne Kimple, mother of Jonah, who's moving up to 5th grade.
Melissa, we're just doing a quick check-in and say hello if you want to go next.
Hi.
Thanks for coming. Looks like a bit of delay for Missy. I'm going to turn my camera off and see if that helps.
Hi, I was just having trouble with the speaker.
Not a problem at all. Well, it's good to see everyone, and so Mrs. Phelan, thank you so much for the reminder because I did want to record. And when I set up the room and set the timer, I was like, okay, I have to remind myself to set the recorder. But I didn't write a Post-it note, so thanks for the reminder. So welcome. I am so glad that you're here. We just thought it would be really great to do a little session on moving up to middle school. So we have students going from 4th grade to 5th grade, and that's a little bit, maybe a little daunting, maybe a little nerve-wracking because you're going from elementary to middle school. But it is a great experience. We love our middle school. And so we thought that we would just do a little session for our parents tonight to just go through some things and show you what the middle school is about and some different things. So we're just going to walk you through a couple things. Obviously, everyone is a part of WVL, but I always kind of just like to start and say, since this is recorded and we're going to post it for our families, a little bit about the Sense of Virtual Learning. You already know that we're a 4K through 12th grade online school. And you know that we have wonderfully qualified teachers. 2 of them are here this evening, Ms. Steckel and Mrs. Phelan. That we have students all across the state of Wisconsin, so that's really exciting because you get to meet people from all over, just not in your neighborhood, but from all over the state and become actually really good friends with them. And it is nice that we partner with districts, so there are opportunities for you to maybe do things in your home district as well. So that's just kind of a quick little recap of WVL and who we are. Our goals for tonight's session are to learn about the middle school. So who are the teachers, what will be the same as like going from elementary to middle school, what are some things you did at the elementary that you're still going to be doing at the middle school, what are some things that are going to be different for you, and what questions do you have? And please, I know I put questions at the end, but please do not hesitate to raise your hand. I think that everyone is familiar with Blackboard Collaborate here. So please don't hesitate to raise your hand or type in the chat box any questions that you have along the way. And I'm going to be stopping too every once in a while just to kind of give my microphone a little break and maybe to make sure that everyone catches up and I don't sound like a chipmunk sometimes, but to ask questions too. So feel free to, anytime throughout the presentation, if there's something that you want clarified or a question, don't be afraid to ask. All right, so I did put a slide in here because something that will be the same is your student learning advocate. So you have a student learning advocate now, and they will continue to be your SLA. And you can see that we have Mrs. Brown up here, we have Mrs. Jepson, and then we also have, and someone that might be new to the team that you're not familiar with is Mrs. West, and she's our guidance counselor, and she's also a student learning advocate within the school. And she's going to be taking a little bit bigger role in the middle school to maybe do some different activities and different things for our students to be able to help them stay organized and time management, kind of things that maybe a school counselor would do at the middle school level. So you'll be seeing a little bit more of her, and she may be a new face for you for next year. And then, of course, I think there are probably some familiar faces here down at the bottom. So the middle school teachers, right? Because you all want to know, like, who's going to be my teacher, right? That's a big question that I know I have a middle schooler, and he is actually going to the 7th grade, and that's always a question that he has. Who are my teachers going to be? When are my teachers? And so we have Mrs. Skackel, and I think that you're probably quite familiar with her. And she teaches the 5th and 6th grade language arts and social studies. We have Mrs. Michelson, and she teaches 5th and 6th math and science. And so you'll see that Mrs. Skackel and Mrs. Michelson work together. So you'll have those two teachers for 5th and 6th grade. Then we have Mrs. Milkey, who teaches 7th and 8th grade language arts and social studies. And she works with Mrs. Leiterman, and she teaches 7th and 8th grade math and science. So just like Mrs. Michelson and Mrs. Skackel switch back and forth for 5th and 6th grade and work together, Mrs. Milkey and Mrs. Leiterman do the same for 7th and 8th grade. But all 4 teachers work really closely together as a team. And so the teachers, when you move up from 6th grade to 7th grade and you move from Ms. Skackel and Mrs. Michelson to Mrs. Milkey and Mrs. Leiterman, it's a nice transition, and that's for the communication. And that's the same how it is moving from 4th grade to 5th grade. And I'm sure you're seeing that with Mrs. Phelan in your classes and her coming to some of the middle school classes today and this week. We're really trying to help with that transition to make it as smooth as possible. So this should look like a pretty familiar slide to you, just roles and responsibilities. And that's something that also is going to stay the same. You know, you as a parent and a learning coach are working with your student. You may be able to, as the students come into middle school and as they move through the grades, they do gain a little bit more independence. And you may be seeing that now with your 4th grader. They may be able to be independent for a little bit longer. Yes, they still need your guidance, and they need you to help them guide along the way, maybe help them stay focused sometimes, just make sure that the homework is getting done and they're in class and they're supposed to be in class. But you have a really, really big role and an important role in your child's education, especially with Wisconsin Virtual Learning. But to help you with that role, all of those same things are in place that they were in the elementary school. So you have your student learning advocate to help you. You're still going to have your Wisconsin Virtual Learning teacher, and then you also have tech support. So all of those things stay the same. So that's kind of nice, and that's something that will be consistent throughout your whole career with WVL. That doesn't change. And I should have said too, like Ms. Skackel or Mrs. Phelan, feel free to jump in at any time too. But something that the middle school, and you do have this at the elementary, but something that the middle school really stresses is that personalized learning, that individual learning plan that you work with your student learning advocate and a teacher to develop what pathway works best for you. At the classes, you don't have too much play in that. Usually there's 4 core classes, so your students, just like they have now, you'll have language arts class, a math class, a science class, and a social studies class. So you'll have those 4 classes. And you will be able to talk a little bit with your teachers and SLA about the pathway. So there's some different pathways that we talk about that aren't really emphasized at the elementary, so that's a little bit different. We're going to talk about those. We're going to walk through each one. But it really does vary by level and really preference and how the student learns best. I would say, we always talk about it, but I would say that most of our students, probably 90 to 95% of our students, are on the virtual pathway. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But before we do, what you're doing right now in your curriculum and working at the elementary is something that we call more of an independent pathway, which means that you are working through the curriculum, you're guiding your student, you're working with them on a daily basis. They have class once, maybe twice a week. They may have some extra support classes in math or reading, but you're working through that curriculum, you're submitting your work, either through Calvert or K-12 or Little Lincoln, whether that's to the teacher or whether that's submitting a test every couple weeks or every couple lessons. So that is really working on, not really at your own pace, but you do have deadlines and things like that, but you're working on an independent pathway. So does anyone have any questions about that? Independent pathway is probably the most similar to what you're doing now in the elementary.
Do you want to address curriculum available at middle school? There's a little difference there with independent.
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit, Mrs. Bailey. What did you ask?
As far as curriculum, can you choose any curriculum to be in the independent pathway?
Good question. Thank you. For the independent pathway, the curriculums, the teachers have based their curriculum on the standards, and they have written their curriculum. So for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, you have a teacher-created curriculum, and that is in the core areas. So the teachers have created a math, science, social studies, and language arts course. If you wanted to be on the independent pathway, you could use the teacher course, or you could use Calvert. So Calvert is something that you could move up. So I know some of you are in the Calvert curriculum right now. So you could continue that curriculum if you wanted to move that through. We do have just a handful of students that are using the Calvert curriculum up at the middle school level on the independent pathway. Something that we do not offer at the middle school is K-12. So K-12 is only offered at the elementary, K through 4. And so that's why now some conversations are going on with the SLA and the teacher, trying to figure out the best fit. So if you are a family that's using K-12 right now, you may be having that conversation with the SLA and with your classroom teacher to figure out what is the best pathway. But like I said, 95% of our students coming into the middle school, and even whether it's at the 5th grade level or whether we have brand new middle schoolers coming to us in 8th grade, are on the virtual pathway, and they're going to the courses or going to the classes twice a week and working with the teacher's curriculum. And we've had a lot of success with that, and the teachers have been really supportive, and parents and students have been very happy. Yes, Melissa?
Okay, so I have a question for you. I'm not sure if I fall in this, if I'm the only one that falls in this category or not. But like right now, I work part-time and then I school. Basically, I do 3 days or 5 days worth of school in 3 days currently. And so my question to you is for my, soon-to-be 5th grader. Obviously, before we were doing, we were doing K-12 and it worked out great. This particular route, do you have any suggestions? Like, I guess what I'm concerned about is when do we find out when these classes are that they take online with their teachers? Like what days of the week and what times? I mean,
you got cut off there for a second, and I hope I'm not like jumping in too soon. I hope you didn't have more of a question. Just kind of give me a thumbs up or right next if you want me to stop talking. But we do have a schedule, and the schedule stays pretty static. I would say that we usually work on the schedule over the summer. For our returning families, we can get that schedule out pretty quickly. Typically, we put that schedule in the family orientation folder, but I don't know that it would be, like I said, the schedule stays typically pretty static. It just depends on the number of sections, how many students we have at each grade level, so whether we need to add sections or take sections away. So, you know, we could, like I said, we could probably get that to you, the schedule by July 1st because of that, because of looking at maybe schedules or work schedules or how, you know, maybe there's appointments that have to be revolved around that. Also, some of the classes are offered in the middle school, and I've got a slide actually. Let me just skip ahead to that slide here. And I feel pretty okay, like skipping around here. Well, maybe because I've got all current families with me. But this is an example of what maybe a sample schedule may look like. So the classes that are in are here in the bolded are the actual class times. So you can see that this sample student has math class on Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Then they have an hour break on Mondays and Wednesdays. Then they have science class at 10 a.m. on Mondays and Wednesdays. And then they schedule the lunch period. And then they have work time the rest of the day. Their Tuesdays and Thursdays look a little bit different. So they have off at 8 a.m., but then they have a language arts class at 9 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They have a homework time that they can work on language arts, a lunch, and then they have social studies class at 1 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Something different at the middle school that is very well received is they actually have a live study hall on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 o'clock. And that is time that all the teachers are in a Blackboard Collaborate room like this, and the students can come in and you can bounce from teacher to teacher to get additional support and help. And I know that that's been pretty successful, and I know Ms. Scacco can talk to that if anyone has any questions about that. And then this would be their schedule, and then Fridays, the teachers usually leave open for any catch-up or anything like that, but sometimes there may be this rotate. So in recent years, there's been a lit circle for your linked arts class. There might be a math club for students to participate in. Sometimes the middle school has run like a lunchroom social, just an open Blackboard Collaborate room or a hangout where students can kind of get together and socialize. And if there's any review classes or things like that a teacher wants to run, they could run that on a Friday. So we leave Friday a little bit open for those extra activities. Does that help, Melissa?
Yes, it does. I do have one more question to follow up with that. So, for example, for 5th grade in general, let's say, is there more than one language arts class, session, for flexibility at all?
Yes, good question. So typically what happens is there are 2 sections of the class. So for example, there may be this math class on Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 a.m. and then there may be another math class that's run on, say, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. Okay? So usually when you have that conversation, we figure out the classes that the student's going to be taking, and typically it's, math, if you have a 4th grader going to 5th grade, so the 5th grade student next year, you'll be in Math 5, Science 5, Language Arts 5, and Social Studies 5. So they'll be in those classes, but then they offer in the mornings, and this is just a sample. So they could offer math in the morning on Mondays and Wednesdays, and in the afternoons on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that's where we look at that. But we also look at the number of students that are enrolled in 5th grade as a total to see how that works and how many sections of that class we need.
So I'm assuming that with my schedule, I should probably talk to the SLA then, and they'll, I don't know if they just pick and choose at random who's in what class, but if it does not work with my schedule and I can't get around it, I'm assuming I should just talk to my SLA at that point then and see if we can move into the other LA classes offered or whatever.
Right. The SLA will definitely have that conversation with you. They talk to each family about scheduling. It's a little early. I know that we're figuring out classes and those types of things for next year. But schedule-wise, I don't know. I don't think that they're having that conversation. We usually have that conversation May to June when we start doing some actual looking at that, and they'll talk to you. But if you kind of want to be proactive about that, Melissa, feel free to shoot your SLA an email and just say, hey, mornings work better on Mondays and Wednesdays, and afternoons work better on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or whatever. Just shoot her an email and let them know that. And I think that would be helpful. They'll add that to your phone log and keep that in the record so that when they actually do the scheduling, because we don't actually put those numbers and those times into Skyward until after July 1. And it's just an internal rollover system that we have to wait until after July 1 for. So, but you can definitely put your preference in there. Great question.
Can I add to, or actually, Melissa, can I ask you a question? So I know you're worried about your schedule, but as Mrs. Horn was saying at the start of the lecture or the presentation today, obviously 5th graders have a little more independence than 6th graders or 4th graders, and it's one of those things that even if you're not home, they could still attend math class with the teachers because I know, and if you wanted to see it, we record all those classes. So if they went to math class and then you were at work, say, and then in the afternoon you said to them, hey, what'd you learn in math? And they said, oh, we don't remember, or we're not sure, or whatever. We record all our classes. So you could go back and watch that class or fast forward to the part where they missed or that type of thing. So that's one thing to remember. We do have the kids come to class on a schedule, but obviously something happens, like there's a field trip coming up, Cave in the Mountains. I'm going to basically say to my kids who usually are in language arts on Thursday, hey, there's no live class. Either come on Wednesday or watch the recording from Wednesday, because I do the same thing. Whatever I do on Monday, I do on Tuesday. Then what I do on Wednesday, I do on Thursday. And I know math and science work that way as well.
Thank you. Right now I have Elijah working with me, so he comes and helps clean houses. So I do have to, and the other kids stay with Grandma. So I will have to try to probably rearrange some things, but that's fine. As long as he can do it and log on and such, it should be fine.
So I understand what you're saying. So yeah, so those are some things that if you talk to your SLA, I'm sure we can probably get things to work for you.
Right, this is perfect. And again, thanks for asking these questions, because the thing is that hopefully we'll learn from each other. And if there's a question, maybe, like Melissa, you had those great questions. Maybe it's not something that someone else thought of, or maybe hasn't had a chance to ask that question yet. So this is wonderful. So thank you. All right, so let's go back a little bit. Okay, so we kind of talked about the independent pathway, and then this is going to be something new, and actually the elementary is going to be using it next year. But this is just a picture of Canvas, and so this is our learning management system. So this is where all of the classes are housed. This is where they'll go to get their assignments, to get their homework, to get, look at a calendar, see what the lessons they have to do for the day. Everything will be right here on their dashboard. And this will actually look similar in the independent pathway and in the virtual pathway. So everything is here. And you can see this is actually a picture of a high school student's page, but you can see that they have little buttons here, and they've got algebra, biology, English, French. Everyone gets an orientation course and a SciEd class. So for your student, they would have a Math 5, Science 5, a Language Arts 5, a Social Studies 5, and they will have an orientation course. We've created an orientation course that they'll be able to go through and help them along the way, and they will have a physical education course. So their page will look very similar to what this looks like. And then down below is an example of what a teacher page would look like. So you can see that they've got the teacher picture here, and Ms. Scacco and Mrs. Michelson, one of their pictures will be there. All of their contact information is here. Everything that they need to be able to access, their Blackboard Collaborate link will be there, the calendar for them to see what they need to do, drop boxes, everything is in one place. So they should only have to go to this one place to get everything that they need to do their work for the day.
And I know it looks a little intimidating, but the first week of school, when we go to orientation, we show them how to use it. The first week of school, we show them how to use it. We make a recording for how to use it, and then we remind them throughout that first couple weeks how to use it. It's not that hard, but sometimes they miss it the first couple times through.
Well, and that is something that we do take a lot of time. Like at those family orientations, the teachers do a great job of walking the students through that, showing them what it looks like, especially for our 5th graders. You know, we might have some new students in the school, but also for our, you know, 4th graders moving on up to 5th grade. It's just, it's a little bit of a learning curve. So the teachers take a little bit more time, go through it, and like Ms. Scacco said, they also work with doing it during, so we have family orientation the week before school starts, then they do kind of like, hey, get to know you, let's go through it, this is how my class works, this is how we're going to do things, this is how we do the drop boxes. And then they also do some recordings. That's part of that orientation course that's on their page that they can look through. And the teachers are always there to support and help, as well as the SLAs. Okay, I'm just going to click off so I can read Melissa's question here. Perfect. Yep, Melissa, or Ms. Scacco is on it. Thank you. All right. So now, different from the independent pathway is the virtual pathway. And so this pathway, the student follows the pace of the teacher. So there is, like I said, teacher-guided learning. So the teacher sets up the schedule and the student follows that schedule. They come on twice a week basis, so they're coming at a certain time. They're getting that direct instruction from the teacher, and then they're moving forward from there. So they may have class on Monday, and then they complete the assignment. They may have something to do on Tuesday, and then they recap and go through another assignment on Wednesday. And the same with Tuesday, Thursday classes. Okay, so they meet on a regular basis. They do have some homework, and it's nice to have that schedule and have that structure going if that's what your middle schooler needs. So I think that that's a nice thing, and it's a great time for the students to interact with one another, just like they're doing in their classes right now with Mrs. Phelan. It's just nice for them to be able to socialize, learn from each other, work in groups, and do different things with each other in an online environment. Again, this is just the sample schedule, which we kind of went over before. Does anyone have any questions about the schedule or about the classes? Just give me a red X or a thumbs down, or, oh, perfect, or just chat it in the chat box. Thanks. Okay, I see a couple people are typing, but so the nice thing about the schedule too is that it really does provide that structured time. And if the SLAs, we talk to families about, and it's, like I said, we have current families here, so I know that you've heard probably myself say it or SLA say it. The families that have a schedule work, it just seems to help everyone stay on task, help the students, and again, as they get older in their grades, they're gaining more and more independence. So having them, having this life skill, being able to follow the schedule, being able to stay on track, being able to put that together. And this is really something that could be done, and I suggest it be done in collaboration with the student. So they can really figure out, when is the best time that they learn and how are they putting things in there. And, if you go to math class, maybe, it's logical for us to think, well, let's do the math homework right after math class because you were just there. So those things that you're working on now and you're working with them to create your schedule at home, they're doing the same thing at the middle school level. Yes, Jenny, go ahead.
This is probably obvious, but is the live study hall mandatory for them to attend?
No, good question. It's not mandatory. I believe that, if the student is struggling, the teachers may suggest that they come to study hall for some additional help. But I know that the teachers are also, they have some maybe additional time scheduled in there so that they can, if they study hall doesn't work, or maybe on Fridays they could do review classes, but it's not a mandatory time unless they might be struggling, and like I said, a teacher may suggest it. So let's see, there's a question. Elective classes in the middle school, such as foreign language. We do have some students that are doing a foreign language, but usually it's up at the 7th and 8th grade level. I haven't had any 5th or 6th graders do a foreign language. It's an elective that we run through the high school. So they have the option, when I say 7th and 8th grade, because usually they would get high school credit for it if they do it in 7th and 8th grade. We do have a middle school health class that we run, and I am looking at adding a couple more electives. Because right now, like I said, we have a middle school health class. We have some free online classes that we offer through Brigham Young University that we offer to our families. But I am looking into, because that is something at the middle school level that we've been talking about, is elective. So I'm just looking into seeing, I guess I have a meeting, I want to say in about 3 weeks with a company to talk about some middle school electives. And I've kind of got my fingers crossed that maybe that is something that might work out well for us. But we do suggest that the students kind of get set in their schedule first in the first semester, and then if they're interested in an elective, to add that second semester. Just because it is a change. It's a different schedule. It's a different learning management system. So really trying to get proficient there and getting that under their belt before we add any more classes. All right, I see some questions coming in, so let me just scroll up and see if I can get to them. Excellent. I love having other people in here with me because they're taking care of the questions. So thank you, Mrs. Phelan and Mrs. Scacco. One of the things, Missy, you asked a question about coding, and that is something that we are looking into because coding is coming up, and it's just an up-and-coming thing that middle schoolers, actually there's some elementary resources. I know that I've talked to some different middle schools that are offering it, definitely the high school offering it. So it's something, and Mrs. Phelan and I are actually looking into it. So it's interesting that you asked that question, and she's in here with us. So we're trying to figure out what we can do and how. I know I've gotten some resources, just maybe computer programming, just some basic programming websites that I know I've shared with some of the teachers that we would be happy to share out with you just as like a introduction. But it is something, so that's a great question because that is something that is just a really hot subject right now. I think that those of you here probably know the positives and the great things about being on a virtual pathway because you're in classes now with Mrs. Phelan. You know how breakout rooms work. You know that students are able to work together. They're able to do different activities, get maybe some individual attention in the smaller classes. So it just depends, but you know, that is something, a positive thing. I just can't stress enough the interaction that the students get to have with the students. And the fact is that Ms. Scacco mentioned before, are the recorded classes. It's just so nice to be able to have that. I don't know how many times that, like I said, I have a middle schooler, and I'm not sitting, he doesn't go to Wisconsin Virtual Learning. So he goes to a traditional brick and mortar school, and he'll come home and we'll be working on math homework or something, and he'll say, you know, ask me for some help, which, you know, I'm more than obliged to do, but I'll ask him what happened in class, and it's hard for him to explain that. And he's like, oh, well, I don't know. And it would be so wonderful if I could just go to the recording and watch what happened in class. So it's really a great option and a resource to have those recorded classes as well to be able to rely on. Just in case, does anyone have any questions? I just always put the slide in here just to kind of go over. But again, since you guys are in the 4th grade classes, I think thank you for the extra. I think that most of you are familiar with Blackboard Collaborate and how it works. Obviously, because everyone seems very proficient in this room right now. So it's kind of fun being in here with everyone. Before, when I described the pathways, there are 3 pathways. We have the independent, we have the virtual, and then we also have a blended pathway at the middle school, which combines both pathways together. So there may be a subject that your student is really doing well at, really excels. So maybe they want to move more quickly through that, or maybe they don't need to go to class every other day, that they can just work through the curriculum and do that. And so that might be, maybe they go to math and science class and social studies class, but maybe they go to math, science and language arts class, we do social studies independent. I know that would make Mrs. Geckel very sad because I know she loves social studies and she wants to see them in class. But so you can work with your SLA and your teacher to figure out what is the best combination. Like I said, 95% of our students are virtual. They go to all of their classes on a regular basis. I don't have very many that are on the independent pathway or the blended pathway, but it's an option. So just know that that is something that we offer as part of the school and part of the middle school. So, yeah.
So the one thing I did want to point out is if you choose to do Calvert, then Calvert's kind of on its own. It's not the curriculum that we follow or that we teach in class except for math class. So if you did decide to stick with Calvert, those you could do the blended with math, but the rest of the subjects you would basically, obviously we could answer questions or we could clarify what you're working on, but our curriculum for the live classes doesn't follow that. For the virtual pathway, I should say, sorry.
So does that make sense to everyone? So what Ms. Geckel is saying that if a student decides to be independent in Calvert, we use, I wouldn't say that blended's only for using Calvert. I think that it would work in a way, so for example, if a student were to be independent and they decided to work in, because some of our students are independent and not using Calvert. Some of our students are independent using the teacher-created lessons. So they're working through teacher-created material. So they're working through that material. And in that case, they could watch the recordings as a resource. They would have all of that at their fingertips. But Calvert, if you choose to be independent in Calvert curriculum, the teachers aren't following that curriculum. They're not teaching the Calvert curriculum except in math because that's the Singapore math. And we have found a lot of success with that. Our students are scoring very well and they're going up to high school very prepared for the high school curriculum for algebra and pre-algebra. So if a student wanted to be in Calvert independent, they could be independent in Calvert for their language arts, science, and social studies, but they could still go to that math class with Mrs. Michelson. Does that make sense? You can just give me a smiley or a green check or... Okay, perfect. And I'd be happy to talk more about that if anybody is interested, or I can email or give them a call tomorrow too. But so the same thing happens. The middle school is a pretty active place. Just like the elementary, like I said, they are meeting in classes, they're doing social outings, there's lots of opportunities. You have your classes that are 2 times a week, so they get to see each other in class and just sit with the teacher. The nice thing is, so your teacher stays with you for 2 years. So in the elementary right now, so you have a 3rd grade teacher last year and you have Mrs. Phelan for 4th grade this year. Next year you're going to have both Mrs. Michelson and Ms. Scacco for 5th and 6th grade, and then 6th grade you're going to have the same 2 teachers. So they kind of, the hiccups, I apologize. So they kind of move with you. So that's a really great thing because the teachers really get to know the students get to know the teachers. There's a great relationship there, and I think that that really helps with their studies and with their school. And I've noticed when I'm in observing and doing evaluations and being in the classroom, it just makes for a great learning community because students are feeling comfortable to express themselves, to answer questions, to take risks. It's just a wonderful learning environment. The new things are going to be study hall and office hours, so that's something nice that is offered to our middle school students. You'll also have that up at the high school. The classes are recorded. We've talked about that. You'll still have OWL awards. So I know some of you have been receiving OWL awards. You're still going to have those at the middle school. And then something new at the middle school that we don't have at the elementary is the honor roll. So that's kind of exciting. We do an A-B honor roll. So students that have all A's are on the high honor roll, and students that have A's and B's are on the A-B honor roll. So and that gets published in Canvas, and you get recognized there in an announcement. So that's kind of exciting, something different to honor those that, the students that are working hard and getting those grades. And of course, you have, just like you do now, you have that, you're able to chat before and after class. We have some clubs, work circles, different opportunities like that to be able to take part in different activities. And I know when you get up to 7th and 8th grade that the teachers take a lot of input for 8th grade promotion. So they work with the students to kind of plan that and get that organized. So that's a fun thing as well. And I think that I would think that Ms. Gaff would probably back me up on this if there was something that the students wanted to see or wanted to have more of, or maybe have an idea for a club or something. I know all of us are always open to entertain and actually have the conversation about that. Yes, Alyssa. So there is, so if you are in the Calvert Independent Pathway, there are still those Lesson 20 tests that you send in. So that doesn't change. Yep. Okay, and then of course we have so Facebook, and things are posted on Facebook. A lot of your announcements will come through Canvas, which is that learning management system. So for example, the teachers like to post announcements of things coming up. This meeting was probably on Canvas. Cave of the Mounds was probably on Canvas. There was something like we did kind of when we did a rising freshmen, so we did the same type of presentation for our 8th graders moving up to high school. That was posted in Canvas. So there's a lot of places that you can get those announcements, but it's nice, again, being in one place that your student is going into Canvas to access their courses, and they have those announcements that are right there. So it's nice to be able to have that as access to them. And then as well as we always put announcements on Facebook. We send a newsletter out. So that is, that's there, and then of course the WVL website. You'll still have your field trips and outings. I know that there's a couple different ones. For example, there is a Discovery World coming up, field trip. But we participate in all the same outings. Middle school participates in all the same outings and field trips. I know there might be a couple other science ones that come up, and I know that Ms. Fackel was talking about doing a social studies field trip in the fall. I think her and I were chatting about that. I won't give it away, but I think we were talking about something like that. All right, I won't give the secret away. We'll let them think about that. But Canvas is a little bit like Angel, Alyssa and Elena. I would say that it's easier to use, a little bit more intuitive. Everything is in one place, not so cumbersome and not so glitchy, I would say. Angel is a little bit more glitchier, and that's why we moved to Canvas. So, but it's along the same lines. They're both learning management systems. But the nice thing is that there is 8th grade promotion. So that is that's a nice thing, and we combine that with our end of the year outings. So that is all there, and there's some pictures of actually 8th grade promotion. And then zip lining. So fun stuff. Okay. I did want to give everyone a reminder that this week for the schedule of the week, so how many of you, just give me a smiley face, how many of you went to a class today? I know that there was a class today. How many of you were able to go to that? Yay! So hopefully, Ms. Phelan said that she was going to go with you guys and go up. But yeah, so there's 3 others. So if you weren't able to make one of them, there's 3 more, and that's why I wanted to put the schedule up there for you. And really, we thought that this would be just a great opportunity for 4th graders to be able to go kind of with the safety of Mrs. Phelan and go up to the middle school and check out some of the classes and just see how they're run. So there is a 10 o'clock tomorrow morning social studies class with Ms. Scacco. Then Wednesday, there is a 9 a.m. language arts class with Ms. Scacco again, and then a science class with Mrs. Michelson at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So there's some good opportunities, and we tried to make sure that there was an opportunity for each class to be able to go in and test it out. And yeah, oh God, I'm so happy. I might have to try to see if I'm testing. Actually, I'm doing ACT testing tomorrow and Wednesday. So maybe I can try to pop in for one of them. And maybe some of my earbuds, and maybe I can try to figure that out. But yeah, I'm so glad to see that you were able to get into some of those classes, or you're planning on going to one, because I think it's just really fun for the students to be able to get in, and I think it relieves some of that anxiety and stress of like going to middle school and not sure what it's about. But it is a lot of fun. Our middle school is amazing. So now you've listened to me talk for a little while, actually for a lot of while, but do you have any questions? Any questions? I know you've been asking along the way, but is there anything else that we can follow up with, or anything else that you want to talk about, or Mrs. Phelan and Ms. Scaffold, anything that I missed, anything that you want to add?
Just wanted to mention, as I put in the chat, about the students just molded right in today, and I think just in observing them, they were participating, raising their hands, and it got to some questions that they didn't have some of the background in order to, you know, do some solving. But it was amazing. They were still like working at it and wanting to know more. It was the most exciting thing I've ever seen. It was kind of like my little chicks have left the nest and are off and flying and doing well and successful at it. So I just were right in there, and Mrs. Michelson put them in groups and breakout rooms, and they just automatically just know what to do. So it was very, very exciting for me.
Well, I'm excited to see everyone in social studies tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. We start our day with current events. I hate to be rude, but I have to run. So, Mrs. Horn, if anyone has any questions, go ahead, give a shout out. Otherwise, I will see you all tomorrow morning in social studies.
Thank you so much for attending, Ms. Scacco. I appreciate it.
I'll see you Wednesday morning in language arts too. So take care. Any questions, feel free to contact me. It was awesome meeting all of you, and I'm excited to see you tomorrow in class, or Thursday, or Wednesday. I don't even know what day I'm talking about. Either tomorrow or Wednesday. Take care. Good night, everybody.
Okay, so that is just like, you know, hearing Mrs. Phelan talk, that's exactly how I feel when I go to the middle school classes. It's nice to be able to see the students just jumping in, and I think that it's really created that learning environment, and I think it's helped. And, you know, round of applause to Mrs. Phelan and the elementary teachers as well, because they work really hard to get those students ready for middle school, to have that independence and to kind of try things out on their own. So it's really exciting. Yes, they are a little bit longer, but that's good that no one noticed and they were having fun. That's great. So I did put the teachers' contact information here as well as my contact information. Their phone numbers, their office numbers are there as well as their email. So if you wanted to contact any of us or by phone or email, feel free to do that. Feel free to reach out to any of us. Mrs. Phelan as well, but I think you have her contact information, so I didn't put it up on the board. But if I am free to stay if anyone has any questions. Other than that, that is kind of middle school in a nutshell. Nice little overview. Like I said, if you have any questions, I'll be free to stay and hang out and answer them. But if not, thank you so much for coming. It was wonderful to chat with you and see you this evening. And enjoy the rest of your week in some of those classes.
Thank you very much.